morning, everyone, and thank you for attending this month's webinar on wireless alarm controllers. It's 10 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So, let's take a look at our agenda for today. Again, we are talking about wireless alarm controllers, and we're going to be talking a little bit about wired and wireless alarm controllers today. We're also going to be looking at some sensor systems and sensor equipment that we can use to detect emergencies. So today we're going to be talking about a couple different types of monitoring systems. And then we're going to be talking about the types of alerts and alarms that you can send and how to send them briefly. Then we're going to look at some application examples. So we have a linked fire alarm system application that I'd like to show you. We also have a CO and CO2 alarm system application, and then the liquid leak alert system application. And then with each of those applications, we're going to look at the hardware that was used. So then after that, we are going to get into our Q&A session. I have Robert with me today. He's one of our engineers, and he's going to be able to answer some of your more technical questions. I ask that you do please hold your questions until the end. If you think of one during the presentation, you can enter it into the chat box, which you can see as part of your Zoom interface. Make sure you enter that into the Q&A box and not the chat box. They're different boxes, different icons, so just make sure you're entering it into the Q&A instead of the chat. Actually, I think we have chat disabled, so just make sure you enter that into the Q&A so we can see it, and then we'll answer it on mic at the end of the presentation. If you have a microphone and if you would prefer to ask your question live, go ahead and do so. Just wait until the end and raise your hand, which again you can do through Zoom. Raise your hand at the end during our Q&A session. So following that, we will get into our raffle winners, and then I'll let you go. So let's get started. So we are ICPDAS USA. ICPDAS was established in 1993. Our headquarters is located in Hsinchu, Taiwan. ICPDAS USA was launched in 2001 to support the North and South American markets. We have over 200 R&D engineers. We work closely with them to add new features to our products, develop new products, and to support our customers. Most of our products are RoHS compliant, meaning they are lead-free. We have our ISO 9001 certification, which ensures that we meet product statutory and regulatory requirements. We're also SGS certified in the UK, and we're a Windows embedded partner. So, which types of monitoring and alarm systems are we going to be talking about today? We are going to be talking. The first one is going to be actually our linked fire alert system, which is a monitoring and evacuation route control system with a bunch of different linked zones, where each zone has an indicator as to where fire is in the building, so that you can plan your evacuation route around it. Then we're going to be looking at an indoor car park, parking garage example for our CO and CO2 and particulate sensing system. And then finally, we're going to get into our liquid leak detection system. So what are the types of alarm that you can send with our alarm controllers? And these basically fall into two broad categories. We're going to be talking about relay triggers and email and SMS alerts. So relay triggers are your klaxon, siren, lights, and emergency start and stop functions. And then email and SMS alerts are programmable functions on the controllers that you can send a message over 3G or Ethernet. And you can use these together or separately depending on the severity of the emergency. There are a lot of situations where sending a text message or an email alert is not enough, so you would probably want to do both. And both methods require communication between I/O modules and the appropriate alarm controller, except possibly the ISN and CL modules, which do have an integrated alarm. It sounds just like your average home smoke detector, so it does have some of those modules do have an integrated alarm. You can use a PLC or a controller or a PC, and ladder logic, C programming, or another logic engine to configure I/O and alarm send triggers. Any SMS messages are going to require a SIM card and a messaging plan, and email alerts will require access to a mail server. And all of our 3G products, and we'll be discussing a couple of those today, do require a SIM card and some kind of carrier plan depending on how you're going to use them. If you're going to use them to send lots of data, if you're sending FTP uploads, or live data, then you'll need a data plan. If you're just using these to send, if you're strictly using them to send SMS alerts, then you can get away with just a messaging plan. But you will still need a SIM card and a plan with a carrier, so like AT&T, Verizon, regular cell carrier. I want to talk a little bit about how you can program those email alerts, and what we're looking at here are some screenshots from the configuration page for our WISE 7152 controller, which is one of our alarm controllers, and all of our WISE modules use a similar OS, similar configuration pages, so this is going to give you a rough idea of how you can do that. So this is the logic control engine that's built into our WISE modules. You can see there on the left, this is the rules setting page, and we're creating rule 1. So you would name it up here in the description. And then for these rules, you have if, then, and else conditions. So the if conditions include analog input, digital input, counter input, counter output, timer, rule status. So if there's another rule that has triggered, you can program another rule based on that rule, internal registers, and P2P. And then and else actions include analog input, digital input, analog output. That makes more sense. Analog output, digital output, digital input counter, DO counter, internal registers, timer, send email function, which is what we're talking about now, but we also have CGI commands, recipes, P2P, and rule status. The action we're focusing on is that send email function. So let's say you have a sensor that detects smoke, carbon monoxide, or you have equipment that's overheating and it needs immediate attention. You can set up your alarms based on that sensor input. So in the if section, you specify the I/O channel, and then you determine the operator, which is greater than, less than, equal to, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. And then once that condition is met, it triggers the action. It triggers your then action, which in this case would be to send an email. And to send an email, you specify the number of emails that you want to send up here in email amount. And then you specify the SMTP server that you're sending from, which is going to be an IP or domain name. And if that requires a login, if it requires authentication, then you enter the details there. And then the sender name, sender email address, and the email recipients that you want to send it to. Then you just enter the subject and the contents. And the contents is it's not completely static. If you want to send a short message, you would define a static message, but then they're mostly for inputting I/O values. So you can use it's a string. You input a custom string based on the I/O values that you want to send through the through the email. And that, in a very basic sense, is how you send an email alert. So let's look at the linked fire alarm system. In this example, there's a linked fire alarm system in a building. It's divided into 6 zones. Each zone has a WISE 7152 module connected to temperature, smoke sensors, and other fire detection devices. The DO channels of each WISE 7152 will be connected to the 6 warning lights shown on the diagram. There's 1 warning light per zone. In this example, there's a fire in Zone F. So the WISE module alerts the other modules with its P2P function. Upon receiving the message, the WISE module in each zone illuminates the warning light for Zone F. So you can see in each zone, the light for Zone F is illuminated. With this clear and immediate warning, building personnel can make an informed decision about how to evacuate the building and how to handle the emergency. After the problem in Zone F is resolved, the alarm and all warning lights can be turned off with a switch. Now, in addition to the 6 WISE 7152 modules distributed throughout the facility, an additional WISE 7152 monitors the network, acting as a coordinator. Through the P2P function, this coordinator will communicate with the other 6 WISE modules regularly and uses light indicators to show the network status of the other 6. This way, an operator can quickly verify the network status of each module and fix a problem as soon as it arises. So you can see how this goes a little bit above and beyond what you might think of when you think of an alarm controller or an alarm system. So let's look at the WISE 7152. We looked at the configuration page for this module, so let's talk about some of the specs briefly. The WISE 7152 module communicates over Modbus TCP, which makes it easy to integrate with SCADA. It features 8 channels of isolated open collector output and 8 channels of isolated wet contact digital input. Each output channel supports 650 milliamp current, driving 10 to 40 volt DC, and each digital input channel supports counter input. The WISE 7152 is also, you can power it through PoE. It's IEEE 802.3AF compliant PoE specification. Using power over Ethernet provides greater flexibility and higher efficiency, simplifying system design, saves space, reduces cabling, and eliminates the need for dedicated electrical outlets, although you can still use the WISE 7152 with an auxiliary power source. Again, like we talked about, users can implement logic functions without programming. All of our WISE modules are designed to be very easy to use, easy to program. They use a web server that is on the module itself, so you just navigate to its IP address, and then all the configuration pages are there. And then you set up the if-then-else logic rules through a browser. Let's see, was there anything else important about this module? No, this is one of our more inexpensive and basic WISE modules, but it certainly gets the job done in this case. Moving on to our next example. We just wanted to talk, and I did mention this in last month's webinar, so I won't spend too much time here, but it is a good example of what our alarm controllers can do. So this is an indoor car park, a parking garage, I should say, that is monitoring carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and particulate pollution. So this is a perfect solution for parking structures, office buildings, and homes. You can monitor through serial, Ethernet, or a Wi-Fi connection, and you can pair it with SCADA and MQTT service for remote access. And these alarms, you can see that they look just like your home smoke detector, and these do have an integrated alarm, so you can configure the CO and the CO2 or the PM2.5 concentrations that are unacceptable, and then trip that alarm locally. Then, of course, you can integrate these into a monitoring system. So, so again, like I said, I talked about this last month, so we won't spend too much time here. But one controller that would be good to use in conjunction with the CL series is the SMS534. So this is a dedicated SMS alarm controller. The SMS534 is an intelligent 3G SMS and voice controller, so you can send voice messages for industry applications with simple commands and an SMS tunnel function. And power input can be external or through a lithium battery. So it supports Unicode or 7-bit format for users to implement sending SMS messages in various languages. The SMS 534 also provides the sound alarm application with predefined voice files. In addition, the DTMF function of the SMS 534 allows you to send commands back to the SMS 534 with a keypad and control local I/O. And yes, this module supports tri-band, WCDMA, supports quad-band, GSM, the ASCII commands, SMS tunnel communication. This does have some local I/O, 6 digital input, 2 digital output, 1 analog input, communicates over RS-232 and RS-485. Like I said, you can control it with DTMF tones, so quite the handy and versatile alarm controller, very good for the outdoor app, or for the car park application that we described before. So let's move on to the liquid leak detection system. This is a new product, one that we're pretty excited about. So what you're looking at dead center is the ISN101. This is the liquid leak detection module. And the way it works is that you run a detection line along your water pipes or your hydrant pipe, sewer pipe, anywhere you may expect that there would be a leak, and that sensor line can be up to 500 meters long. And if what it does is that it runs that a current is running through the line. So if the line comes into contact with moisture and the current is interrupted, that's what triggers the alarm. So in this application, we have the ISN101 with the sensor line running along the pipes, and this is communicating over RS-485 back to our WISE5231M 3GWA. It's an IoT concentrator, and it can do a lot of things, but in this case, we're using it as the alarm controller. So let's talk a little bit about the ISN101. The ISN101 series liquid leak detection module is a low-cost, intelligent leak detection device that can be used to control relay output. No additional conversion module is needed, and the ISN101 can be easily integrated with a variety of monitoring systems to achieve remote alarm and remote device control. The ISN101 can be used to monitor a double-core leader cable with lengths up to 500 meters, and can be used with both the sensor cable and its included water leakage probe. If liquid is detected, the controller immediately activates the output relay, normally open, normally closed passive output signal. The module can be easily integrated with other collection hosts and connected to the network. The ISN101 is suitable for real-time leak detection in critical locations such as computer room, base stations, warehouses, libraries, museums, and industrial sites, and also for air handling equipment, refrigeration units, liquid containers, or pump tanks. And basically anywhere where there is a need to monitor any leakage. So the ISN101 is a leakage detection module used in water pipe leak monitoring in buildings with 2 modes. So it works with the water sense cable, which you install near the pipe, and it works with the water leakage probe, which is installed in a fixed location where a leak is possible. Okay, and so the ISN modules are connected to the WISE5231M-3GWA. On the inside, this is not too terribly different from the WISE7152. The configuration and setup is not going to be much different than what we saw before, but this packs a lot more features. So like all of our WISE modules, it runs on browsers. You don't need an extra software tool to configure it. all the configuration and programming is done through web pages, and you saw what kind of programming you can do with it with the if-then-else logic rules. And this module supports what we call our XV boards, which are I/O expansion boards. Usually our WISE module, well, some of our WISE modules come with built-in I/O, some of them don't. This just gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of the sensor data that you can capture. This module supports decon or Modbus RTU slave devices up to 32, up to 16 Modbus TCP slaves. Also has SSL TLS email sending function. Timer and schedule functions are supported. So if you want to schedule your data upload, you can do that over FTP or MQTT or Modbus TCP, but if you want to take advantage of the 3G capabilities, you can send it over for FTP. And of course, in addition to scheduling data send, you can use it to view for real-time data transfer. And it supports Modbus TCP and NRTU, SNMP, FTP, and MQTT protocols. And of course, this is the 3G version. So 3G wireless data communication and SMS message sending and receiving is supported. But that is all that I have for you today. Just a couple of basic applications and the hardware required. So I want to thank you for taking the time out of your Friday to come and be with me today. We're going to open it up to any questions. Does anyone have any questions? First, we're going to look in the Q&A box.